On this episode, we chat to a Thai friend who chose to move back to Thailand from the UK to raise her family.
So if you're under the impression that a life in the West is the be-all and end-all for all educated Thais, you'll learn a lot on this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
Sawadee krap, and welcome to the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who came to Thailand in 2001, and tonight enjoyed the most delicious Canadian stereotype you can imagine by having a lovely dinner of poutine.
Alrighty. It's funny, I'm from Northeastern Ohio, and poutine was just not a thing there. I mean, I feel weird saying that because it's like we're in the North. Now, my friends from Wisconsin are really into it.
Really? Interesting. Funny enough, I'm from Western Canada, and I never even heard of it until I moved to Ottawa when I was like 19.
Well, it is a Quebec thing, right?
Yeah. Anyway, but who cares where it's from? It's always delicious.
Heck yeah. And I'm Ed Knuth, an American who came to Thailand on a one-year teaching contract 23 years ago. Fell in love with the feeling of having taste by insisting to Thais that ketchup and pineapple do not belong on pizza. So I never left.
Man, you and I agree on most things, but I got to tell you, pineapple.
You like pineapple?
And you know what? People are going to crucify me for this, but I've had ketchup on pineapple on pizza before.
Oh,
it ain't awful. I don't do it, but it ain't as bad as you think.
Well, being from Ohio, I'm not used to being snobbish about anything, to be honest. But but when I saw Thai people putting ketchup and pineapple on pizza, I was like, you can't do that.
Says the guy who just ate a big bowl of French fries with cheese curds and gravy dumped on.
That's right. All right. We want to give a big thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get every episode a day early, behind-the-scenes photos of our interviews, a heads up to send questions to upcoming guests, and access to our Discord server to chat with me, Greg, and other listeners around the world. But best of all, patrons also get an unscripted, uncensored bonus episode every week where we riff on current events and Bangkok topics. On this week's bonus show, we chatted about the etiquette when a friend invites you to an expensive dinner that you simply don't want to pay for, especially in a city where you can stuff yourself for $5. A chat about the Alien television series filming in Bangkok and what it means for Thai soft power. Discussions about Thailand's jump in a democracy scale by Freedom House. And a cameo from Greg's son who explains the trend of mewing, what it means, why it's dumb, and thoughts on how even a 9-year-old in Thailand can be hip to the latest global meme slang, even though Greg and I most definitely are not.
We're trying, though.
Yeah, we're working on it. To learn how to become a patron and get all this good stuff, plus full access to over 700 bonus and regular back episodes, click the support button at the top of our website.
That's right. And as always, if you have a comment, a show idea, or just want to say hi, head to bangkokpodcast.com and click the little microphone button at the bottom right to leave us a voicemail that we'll play on the show.
True that.
All right. On this episode, Ed interviews his former student, Mookie. Now, for privacy reasons, we'll just be using her first name. Mookie is talking about her life getting married and having kids in the UK, only to make the decision to relocate back to Thailand to raise them. Now, many people assume that Thais who have the opportunity and means to live in the West would always choose to do so, especially when their children's education is at stake. But Mookie presents an interesting case for raising kids in Thailand rather than the jolly old England, as well as a few other benefits that life here has over life in Western countries. So here's Ed's interview with his former student, Mookie.
So I'm here with my old student, Mookie. Mookie, thank you very much for coming on to the Bangkok Podcast.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here today. It's been a long, long time since we last talked.
Yeah, so we actually talked about you being on the show a while back, and both of us have a busy schedule. You've got kids, and so
yes.
we finally put it together. Now, listeners, you might hear a little bit of reverb. Mookie's at home in her house, but I think you'll be able to hear her clearly. So let me give a little bit of background. So I met Mookie around 15, 14 years ago. She was a student in my program at my university. And the funny thing is, she and I were just chatting about it. I remember my very first conversation with her because she was I think you're a little bit unusual for our students in that when you came to our program, you were in a English language high school program. Is that correct?
It's more like English program. I wouldn't say it's like very international. It's just a Thai school
But
that have some English program. Yeah.
but you had already done some debate, correct, in English? Is that right?
Yes, in English. It was really great because my school, we just have some senior who went to like a proper national debate championship.
Uh-huh.
And then you have everyone from international school, like the top Thai international school. So that's really opens a lot of my, critical thinking skills and that.
Well, I'll just say this. I mean, I can speak freely. You guys, we have known each other a long time. I mean, my first impression of you is that you were just not a normal Thai, not a normal Thai girl. But in our program, we do have a variety of students. So we have students coming from international programs. Some of our students have already studied abroad, but probably, I don't know, about 75% of our students are coming straight from Thai high schools.
Yes.
And so, again, maybe I shouldn't generalize, but everyone knows kind of the typical young Thai girl is quite shy, and especially in English, like they don't, it's very difficult for me to get them even to like say anything,
I see. Yes.
But then like as soon as I met you, you were just started chatting like, John, do you know how I can join the debate team? Or you heard that I had something to do with it. And like right away, I was just like, she's not normal. You're not normal.
I'm not normal, of course. I feel that all the time.
But you know what I mean? I mean, really?
Yeah, yes.
Like how often, like I never, like we're the only, I mean, okay, there have been other girls, women in our program who, have debated, but like on the first day you were like, I want to do this. You were like, it was kind of unusual that you were like ready to go.
Yes, because I've been debating for like 3 years in high school.
That's amazing.
And I really enjoy it. I went from debater to adjudicator, judging people, debating.
Right, sure.
It's really fun. And I do a lot of public speaking.
Right.
Yeah, in school.
It's just a great experience that you had that ready. Like this is, listeners out there, podcast listeners, I talk a lot about being an Ajahn, the pros and cons of being a professor in Bangkok. And one of the main problems I have is that I feel like most of my students, or a big chunk, to me, I don't feel like they're really ready for like a real university experience. So
yes.
I feel part of my problem is I have to get them up to where they should have been. But then you're an example, like you walked in on day one and I'm like, wow, okay, I'm being totally honest. Like I was just like, yes, this is how it should be. Like I should have students just ready for university on day one, and you were ready to go.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to uni, really, because I feel like, coming from a Thai school, we always debating about the educational system in Thailand.
Sure.
We say it's a bit backward. It's not integrated discussion in class. It doesn't encourage, giving an opinions or being critical. But then the uni is a very different, scene.
Well, it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be.
I don't know about other program, but our program actually give us quite a lot of room to speak out.
I try to do that. I mean, like I said, unfortunately, a lot of our students are like just won't talk.
Yes,
but actually, let me ask this question. I don't actually know the answer to this question. Did you study abroad in high school or before you came to our university?
No, I haven't been abroad. I mean, I just went for a trip, maybe Australia for like 7 days.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, that's a good sign, because most of our students who have good English and are not shy I feel like they're ready for university. Most of them, I find out, they studied for a year in the U.S.
Or maybe went to international school.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the thing. So actually, you're proof that a Thai school can get you ready for university.
Yeah, I went to Thai school the whole life. It's only my last 3 years of Matayom 4 to 6 that I went to English program, but I wouldn't say it's anything special about it. It's just more like I just like to talk to people. I just like to use the language. I think that's really like bring me out. Plus the household, my parents give me a lot of freedom to give my opinion.
Oh, that's
I think, it's quite different from school where, you have to listen to the teacher. And then maybe when you ask a question, you're scared they might judge you. But at home, I can be free.
Oh, that's good. So in a way, your parents might be maybe, I don't know what to call them, more
They're more modern.
more
They're
modern.
more modern. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, I mean, it really was a joy having you as a student. I mean,
Oh, thank you.
you and I hit it off and have stayed in touch. But we'll kind of fast forward. So when you graduated from our program, you this is how you ended up abroad. So why don't you tell the story of like when you graduated in your master's degree?
Yeah, so I decided to go to the UK, because I didn't know what I would like to do then. So I just want to do a master degree. I love studying. You know that I love studying,
Sure,
right?
sure.
I'm like one of the nerd students. So I just went to do like, similar to what I do for undergrad, but it's just a bit more advanced, right? And it's quite very, very renowned university in the UK. So
Right.
we still keep in touch then.
That's right.
Right.
No, I have to tell the story. I have to pat myself on the back because when Mookie was it was right away. I was very curious in your first week or two what you thought of this master's program because you went to study basically international relations, correct? At a quite good university in the UK, and one of the goals actually it's kind of in my job description is I'm supposed to be getting our students at the university ready for an international master's degree. It's like one of the objectives of our program is to take these Thai students from Thai high schools and get them ready for a master's overseas. But a bunch of our students do it, but I mean not really that many like actually go get a master's abroad. But you did, and we chatted, and I asked you what was it like? Was it too hard? And you basically said you were ready, like you felt comfortable there. Is that correct?
Yeah, I feel comfortable because, to me, I always think like to go study abroad, it must be so much more difficult than
Right.
in Thailand. But because our program in undergrad is quite modern already.
No,
But when we go to
that's
the
the goal,
UK, it's a very similar, set up, but
Yeah.
it maybe have more discussion, like a group discussion, go read this and let's talk about it in class.
Sure.
I think the difference is only the peers there who maybe they are not just graduates, but they are professional who
Oh, I
work
see.
for like, a very big firm or lawyers, but they're your friends.
Oh, sure.
So that is a
That's right.
challenge. That's a challenging thing because if you go to master school in Thailand, there might be a lot of newly grads who go study.
Oh, that's right. Sure.
And the funny thing is in my whole year, there was no Asian person. I'm the only Asian person.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's more like a United States study, history and politics. It's not a lot of Asian people who do that. They do like, BBA, like, business or, those kind of thing.
Sure.
But I'm
But
the
in
only
terms-
like Asian person.
Wild. But in terms of the academic difficulty, it wasn't harder than our program undergrad?
I don't think it that harder, but I still do think like I'm not as great as them because maybe I'm not having that much experience.
Right.
Plus my English is not like amazing like those native speakers,
Right.
So I still feel like I'm not as great, but at the same time, I can do it. It's not like very difficult. It just, yeah.
Yeah. You know what this reminds me of? I had a buddy here in Thailand and he already finished his undergrad and he worked for a while. And then he went to go get a PhD at Harvard,
Wow.
And he told me it was a similar story. He's talking about how he felt he could do the work, but he couldn't believe who his peers were, his classmates were. And he told me a story of how he was chatting with an older man, guy was like in his 40s who was studying at Harvard. And my buddy asked him like, so what did you do before you came here? And he said, oh, I was the foreign minister of Pakistan.
Wow.
So
that's a difference really. Yes.
Yeah, you meet like adults like in their career.
Yes. Yes, because my classmate is working for the BBC.
Yeah, right, sure.
Yeah, and some is like a very like successful lawyer.
That's right. Like, like adults, real people. But
yes.
But you did it. You managed the program and you got through it, and it wasn't too hard, right? So
it wasn't too hard. No, I didn't suffer too much, but I felt like I didn't try as hard, so I didn't get a very amazing score. But I still managed to graduate and have a settled life in the UK, and that's lead to a next thing, which I have a family. Yeah.
Now on the personal side, of course we won't go into details, but I think I've teased you before about this because everyone knows that or everyone knows a lot of people with Tinder horror stories.
Yes.
But you actually have a quite beautiful,
Successful.
you have a beautiful like Tinder success story. So, I mean, obviously you don't have to go into details, but you met your husband on Tinder. Is that correct?
Yes. And I got married after like 8 months.
Yeah, it was incredible. I remember you were texting me about this, and I mean, at the time it kind of sounded too good to be true, but then
Yes.
it has worked out. It's been fantastic.
Yes. I think the critical thinking really helps, you know. You know,
Oh, in what way?
in everything, in relationship as well, you know, when you're dating a few people, even though it's from Tinder or real life, you have to be critical about your relationship and see it in more like, you know, see it in a reality, not just like, you know, romance.
So you kind of knew your husband was the right guy pretty quickly.
Yes, pretty much. On the first 2 days when we talk.
And you could communicate well. Obviously, your English is great, and he's British, Asian or whatever, British Chinese.
Yes.
But you had no problem connecting, even though you had
No.
different backgrounds.
No, but the thing is, we might sound different, but we are Chinese. I'm a Thai Chinese, and he's a British Chinese.
Interesting.
Yes, so we have quite similar kind of, you know, cultural background.
Sure.
But at the same time, we're a bit more modern. You know, I'm Thai, but I'm a bit more modern and have Chinese background. And he's like a Chinese, but he was born in the UK. So he's a bit more modernized as well. So it's quite like a very good hybrid.
It worked.
Yes.
Obviously it worked. And you've got two beautiful children now, which is fantastic. So let's start talking about this. So kind of the reason I wanted you on the show is because I think you and your family, you have an interesting story about your choice of where to live. So at first you really wanted to stay in the UK. I think we chatted about it.
Yes, I really love the UK.
I'd have to go back and look. I can't remember, but I vaguely remember that you might have said something like, "Oh, I don't think I'll go back to Thailand." Like you
I think I told you that.
Yeah, you seem to be really committed. So why don't you talk about that? So why did you feel, at least at first, you wanted to stay there?
I think like since young, I feel like I don't fit in Thailand totally because, you know, my personality as well. And then when I go to uni for, you know, master degree, I feel like, wow, this place is very, you know, liberal, you know, in a way people can say how they think, you know, what they feel and stuff like that. And I feel like that's so amazing. And people don't judge each other by how they look, their size, you know, those kind of things, which is in Asia, it's a bit, maybe it come across a bit more superficial in some aspect. You know, I'm not generalize it, but in the Western country, it's a bit more like easy. And I think a lot of thing it's like a freedom of speech, all those kind of thing, you know, in that the UK provide is really good. But then once I have a family, it starts to change.
Okay, let's hold off on that for 1 second. I want to talk about this a little bit because I you know, this is kind of a sensitive topic. We're talking about Thai culture, but I do find it frustrating. I have so many, you know, our program, especially because it was liberal arts, it's 90% women, of course. And so many of our students in our program, these young Thai women, they are super nice people. They're very sweet. And a lot of them are quite smart, or at least capable of doing really good work. But I think because of Thai culture, they're just not outspoken. It's like they never say anything. And it's like, for me, it's like, I mean, there's nothing quote unquote wrong with them. They're good kids, good students, good people.
Yes.
They're smart. But they're just, I think part of Thai culture, they're basically taught to be polite and sweet and quiet.
You really hit me there really hard because, you know, recently I have this conversation with my husband, right? That a lot of country education system, they're not much different in the curriculum. You know, you learn about history, you learn about math, anything very similar. But why Thai, you know, education level, the people you produce are not able to step on the world stage? Why that is a problem?
Right.
And I told my husband, because in school, we always sit on a table and learn some kind of thing. We don't get to discuss. We don't get to learn by doing.
It's not active. That's right.
It's not active. And, you know, let's say I can be as smart as the Western person, but in a workplace, let's say you work in a big firm. So to get an interview, you are not able to project your talent. You have so many talents, but you can't tell them, you know, that you can do something.
Yeah, I find it quite frustrating. I mean, part of the frustration is that other than not being outgoing, they're really good kids. Like it's like they're in a way, I think a lot of teachers would love to have them. They're kind of obedient, and
They're super smart as well.
well, they come to class. Like I always have it's not everyone, but I have a chunk of students. I don't know, it might be like half the students are basically perfect in that they do everything I ask. They show up.
Yes.
A lot of students record the classes. They listen to everything I say. They're kind of, in a way, they're kind of like perfect students. And a lot of them,
Yes.
a lot of them, there's a huge chunk of my students that get like C, C plus, kind of B, like that kind of middle of the pack thing. But, and so in a way, I maybe it seems like I should not have much to complain about. But the problem is they never say anything. In 4
Yeah.
years. In 4
You
years.
don't know how they feel. You don't know what they think.
Right. And
Right?
It's like, so I feel that they are getting a type of education by doing that. You go through our program for 4 years, you get C, C plus B. And so you're getting something. But to me, it's not the same as when you're engaged and you're thinking. Like they want me. They're there to learn from me. They're not really developing their own opinions. They don't have their own opinions on much.
I see.
They want me to give them the answer.
So even now, I graduated more than 10 years ago. Is it still the same? Are you saying it's the same?
Well, the short answer is yes, and I think COVID made it.
Wow.
COVID made it work. COVID made it worse. I think. I'm struggling. This is my struggle. My fight as an Achan, as a professor, is to try to engage them. But I'll tell you this. It can be very frustrating to. I only have so much energy, and so when students really don't want to talk, I just run out of gas. Because I have lecture material. I've got to get through stuff, and it's actually a whole nother project to poke and prod them, and it's exhausting. And it's like I remember back in the day, like even before you were my student, I really thought like, okay, I have to make them talk. So I would do stuff like I would just say, okay, if none of you are going to say anything, I'm not going to say anything. So I'm just going to sit here and be quiet. I'm going to sit here and be quiet until one of you raises your hand.
Wow. Okay.
And no, but here's what would happen. I would sit there and they would sit there and they don't care. They're just going to sit there the whole time.
Wow. Okay.
Whereas like a Western student would get bored. A Western student after a minute would go, okay. And they would raise their hand. Like the Thai students are like, hey, we're perfectly happy, like just sitting here quietly. You know what I mean? And so I got to be honest. I kind of gave up like forcing students to participate. I mean, basically I just rely on the few, like, every year there's a few students like you who like to participate, so it's like I kind of live off of the.
That's kind of like fuel for your energy, right?
Yeah, that's right. I'm like, but I do, I just had every year I have another group of freshmen, and every year I give the lecture about, my joke to them is I always tell them like, smiling is not participating.
Yes, I remember that.
That's what I tell them. Like, I'm glad that you're smiling. I'm glad you have a good attitude. Good attitude is worth a lot, but that's not the same as participating,
Yes.
And so, it somewhat works, so some students do participate, but it's still probably 10%.
Not enough.
10%,
Yes.
not.
So that's a big problem there, really, right? And we're going to talk about this later on my kids' education, because that's one of the big thing, right? In Thailand, because we live in Thailand now.
Right. So let's switch back and talk about that. So you were basically pretty happy in the UK. You thought you wanted to stay there. You started a family. You started putting your kids in school, but eventually you and your husband decided to come back to Thailand. So
yes.
Can you talk about like what started to change your mind?
Okay, let's talk about first. We live in London, right? So it's more metropolis, very lively. And then we enjoy our, life as a couple. We get to do things. We fly to Europe. And, before COVID, it was really easy. We love that kind of like, it's more like a honeymoon phase when you get to go out, travel a lot.
Sure.
So then when we have kids, we start to think London is not really the best place for kids to grow up. It's quite busy. It's similar to living in Bangkok. You got a bit of traffic here and there to go to school. You
thought maybe it might be like it's dangerous to some extent, you mean?
It's not that dangerous, but I feel like if we live in London, he might not get a very good education as if we move up north somewhere with a very, very good schools. Because when in UK, the school, if you go to public school, you have to go to in a catchment area of your home. Okay. So within let's say 5 kilometers of your house. So if you live there,
like a local public school, right?
Yes. So you have your first priority have to be in a catchment area. So around where we live is really nice development, but it's not next to any good school. And we think to pay for a private school, it will be like a bit more expensive than Thai international school. And it's not providing as much facilities as in Thailand. Yeah. So some can just be like few buildings, really small buildings, and it's just a private school. They might not have swimming pool. They might not have, a lot of playground and stuff like that because, this London space is very limited. They cannot provide you the best of, facility.
Okay. So to me, this is fascinating. I don't have kids, but my co-host Greg does. And we've actually done a couple shows about, for expats about how to find a good school here in Thailand. But so let me make sure I get you correctly. So what you're saying is you think for the same amount of money that you would spend in the UK to get a good quality international school, like with good facilities.
Yes.
You think you could get more for that money in Thailand?
Yes, I think definitely.
Interesting.
Definitely.
Interesting.
To me, the public school in the UK, it depends on people who go to the school. The quality of the school is not relying on just the teaching, but it's also the participants, right?
Like the neighborhood.
So so if you live in a good neighborhood, then you will have a lot better peers.
Sure.
So we decided to move up north to a city called it's a little town called Harrogate.
Okay.
My husband grew up there, and we have house there. So we decided to buy a house and move up there because the school there is really, really nice. And it's kind of like top 10 city, town, the best one to live in the UK.
Oh, wow. Great.
A lot of retired person go there and a young family go there.
Okay.
They have a good grammar school. They have a very, very good private school, like the best in the north, around the area, Leeds, Harrogate up north. My husband grew up there, and we really love how, clean and clear, fresh air.
So it sounds like you found the right place, but
yes, that's what we thought. Basically, we rent out a flat in London, and we moved to Harrogate. We bought a new house, refurbished everything for like 2 years, and we came back to Thailand for holiday like 2 times. And the second time we came back, and we really, really love it. We stayed here for 2 months, and we thought, shall we move back to Thailand? Just like that.
Yeah.
Because the kids just went out, we live in Chonburi province, and we live next to the mountain, but it's also next to, the main road, Sukhumvit Road. We are so close to everything, good school, good shopping mall, beach, mountains. It's like everything.
So even compared to Harrogate, you're saying that Chonburi, like you think
it's so much better.
Oh, you think Chonburi?
So much better.
Oh, this is fast. This is great. I think there is, on this show, our show is, mainly about, expat life, and a lot of people, I think, assume that, if you're willing to spend the money, you can get your kids a good education here. But I think there's still an assumption that it would be better to be back home. It would be better to be in England. It would be better to be in Canada or the US. But you guys basically could have stayed there if you wanted. This is, so you're not choice. So you were not forced to come here for like your husband's job. So you could be in either place, and you think Chonburi is a better deal.
Yes, because basically before we moved, my son enrolled in a private school, actually. It's like, similar to international school in Thailand.
Sure.
We pay about similar price for his preschool.
So similar in back there as here.
Yes. But then the facility is not a lot, and it's also the weather, the climate in the UK is like rainy, gloomy, and it's not really encourage your mental health. So, you wake up, it's dark, you walk back from school, it's dark. It's only summer, then you have a very amazing weather, but that's like 2 months or 3 months in a whole year. So I feel like kids should have that kind of exposure to, a lot more than just go to school.
Life. Kids, like outdoor life, you think is important.
Yes, because they came to Thailand, they don't complain about it like hot or anything. They're just enjoying it. They're just jump out the house, get on his bike and just ride off. Don't have to put on like 3 layers. That's and then next thing you know, it's raining.
Interesting. Yeah.
There's a lot of aspects to this thing. It's not just education, but it's also the well-being of the kids.
Lifestyle. So you think in general, the lifestyle is better for kids?
Yes. And also, get the sun. It's give you so much vitamin D,
Right, sure.
Yeah.
But also here where you live, you're not in the middle of a city. Like you're a little bit outside the city. Is that correct? Where you guys live?
Yes. Actually, we're in a Sriracha. It's
Okay.
quite a nice area. A lot of like Japanese populations. But we are super close to everything. The central is only 5-minute drive to
That's
us.
great. Wait, let me ask you a question. Since you brought up Sriracha, I saw a little documentary about the original Sriracha sauce in
Yes,
Sriracha.
it must be from here, is it?
Well, it's I forget, but it was kind of fascinating. It was basically one guy in a small shop who like refuses to change anything. He's just been making the sauce like exactly the
Yes.
same. Is that a thing? Like is Sriracha sauce like a thing in Sriracha?
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
No.
so you don't know about this?
No, we know about Sriracha sauce, and I assume it must be from Sriracha, but it become like, worldwide, right? Everyone have that chili
okay.
sauce and then say it's like Sriracha sauce.
Right.
But I don't really know the story, like, and then the American guy claim it,
That's
right?
Well, it's
It's
actually
all those
it's a
disputes.
fascinating story. It's like actually it's a Vietnamese guy in the States who fell in love with the sauce and then made his own, and that's the
Right. Okay.
But there is,
Okay.
I saw. I'll try to find the link and send it to you. But there's like a tiny little shop with some super old guy in Sriracha who is he's the actual
Yeah,
Sriracha
because
guy.
I told my husband this name Sriracha is definitely from Thailand.
Yeah,
It's not going to be from the US or anything, but yeah.
That's right. Okay, small point. So you're technically in Sriracha. So okay, so I like this idea that you can find advantages in Thailand that
Yes.
would be really hard to find. The bottom line is you basically can't get the good weather in the UK. You basically can't do it. Like it's just the way it is, right?
Yes. And I think like towards the end, I have 2 children, it's like one very small baby and a toddler. And I feel like mental health is getting worse because, of the weather. 2 children don't have help.
Oh, I see.
It's very difficult to get a nanny in the UK. It's very expensive.
Oh, interesting.
And,
So that's another kind of lifestyle factor.
Yes.
And I've noticed this here because, I have a maid here in Bangkok. And in the US, I would never be able to pay for a maid.
It's very
way
difficult.
too
Like
expensive, yeah.
they probably got the similar wage to you, the
Right.
maid. So we get help from family members. My husband have a big family, but at the same time, I feel like I have to cook. It's not easy to just go and get mu yang for like 10 baht outside.
Oh, sure. Right. Sure.
When the kid's hungry, you have to cook every single meal, like breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Right.
Eating out is extremely expensive and it's not worth it. And it's not yummy. We Thai, we like quite
Right.
like flavorful food. And then you go out to eat like Italian restaurant and it's like overcooked pasta, those kind of
Yeah,
things.
sure.
So,
So you feel confident. Okay, so I get the like outdoor stuff, the mental health stuff, but let's just switch back to education then. So obviously, there's good international schools in Thailand, but do you think the education is equal to what you could get in the UK?
yeah, recently I went back for Christmas and then I opened my friend's, child, he's in the same 1 year older than my child.
Mm-hmm.
I look at his diary, what he learned and, everything. It's the same because I'm sending my child to right now. It's a British curriculum school.
Sure.
So it's like, it's a quite a it's not like the most expensive one. It's like a medium range international school.
Mm-hmm.
It's like owned by a Thai person, but got approved by Cambridge. So they're using Cambridge and they
Gotcha.
follow the British curriculum, but they got a care of a bit of a Thai way. So,
okay.
semi spoiled as well, which I like a bit of, Asian elements in it.
Sure.
Because I do want my child to grow up, not become just the British person, but I want him to become more like a global citizen,
okay.
understand more of different cultures at the same time. Because I feel like if he grow up in the UK, it will be the same curriculum. Yes. And the teacher quality, I don't think it will be too much different.
Right.
Because they will have to get someone with an educational degree. It's not just like
Sure.
in
Right.
some Thai school that they can get someone with just an English teaching course to do it.
They get like a random Right. Sure.
Yeah. So I saw my friend's child memo is exactly what my child is doing in Thailand.
Oh, interesting.
But in his school, they have 2 teachers with 30 kids.
Mm-hmm.
But my son right now, he got 15 students with 3 teachers.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So you got a lot more attention.
This is great.
It's really amazing. And his school have like 3-4 playgrounds that he can go freely and just run around.
Yeah, so maybe this is interesting. So maybe the schools here, they end up with more space, like you said, more playgrounds, like
Yes.
maybe more sports facilities. And as long as they're doing the teacher certification properly, if they're following some type of standard British curriculum,
Yes.
then maybe it's the same.
Yeah. And I think like to me, I told my husband that, I live in the UK for like 6 years and I felt like I like the kids there, but at the same time, that's something that I don't like about it.
Huh.
Because I'm Thai, even though I'm modern,
Right.
I'm still have some kind of Thai culture.
So you thought
A bit of Grang Jai, a bit of, respectful,
so
to
you
the
think
parents, to elderly.
so the kids might be a little bit, maybe a little
Too
bit
free.
rude, a little bit rude,
Yes.
a little bit.
Yes,
interesting.
definitely.
You mentioned earlier before we started, you also mentioned another issue you had was kind of just healthcare, like the healthcare you get over there.
This is a big topic. We can talk about this forever.
Well, just roughly. I mean, I know the National Health Service isn't perfect, but do you really think you can get better healthcare for the money here? Is that what you're saying?
1,000,000%.
Oh, 1,000,000%. Okay.
Like
okay.
2,000 million%. I don't know how to say that, but
Okay. Well, let's talk about it. So what?
I have 2 incidents that happened to me, right? So basically in the UK, we pay such a high tax, right? Right now we're paying like 40% tax and we get the free healthcare and free school.
Sure.
But the free healthcare, it doesn't mean like in Thailand, you have problem, you walk and you can see the doctor.
Sure.
And in UK, you have to call up, we call general practitioner, GP. And then in some area, you might take you 5 days, 7 days or a week or more to see a doctor.
So this was normal to wait.
It's really normal, but where we live, we can get a same day appointment, but it's mainly like now on the telephone because of the COVID, or you can see the doctor if it's very serious. And then if there's any problem, they might have to refer you to specialist.
Okay.
So let's say in my personal experience, I have a numbness on my hand, So I went to the GP, they got my blood check. It takes me 1 week for the blood check result to come back.
Okay.
And then it's normal. They don't call you back. So they don't call me back.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But my numbness still stay there. So I called them again. I'm like, I cannot feel my finger. My feet is numb.
Right.
And they were like, your blood is fine. It's no problem with the blood. You don't have anything serious. So we have to refer you to a neurologist.
Sure.
But the wait will be 6 months.
6 months?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
He told me neurologist is one of the busiest, department.
Oh, I had no idea.
In the hospital.
I knew there would be a way, but I didn't think it would be 6 months.
Yes. And I said to him, I will be going back to Thailand, next month. He's like, I can help push you into like priority, but it might take 3 months.
Oh, wow.
That's what he said. So what happened is
so what's it like? So just briefly, when you come to Thailand and now you're in the Chonburi area, so you can just pop into like a private hospital.
Yeah, I came back. I arrived. I walked into the S7.E9, right? And then I told the doctor my symptom. They're like, okay, we get you MRI scan now. So I got my MRI scan immediately. And then he's like, yeah, do you have budget? If you do, you can also do your neck because they see my brain. They say it's normal, for example.
Sure.
It's like, it's your peace of mind. So it come back like it's more like chemical thing, So they prescribe me a bit of drugs.
Okay.
Then I'm fine.
Okay,
like that.
But you have to pay out of pocket, whereas in the UK you were paying higher taxes. So you think you think it kind of balances out? So
I feel like a lot of things, right? It's left untreated for too long is not good. Let's say if I have the numbness for like another 6 months, it's really affect my mental. I'm really paranoid. I cannot feel my finger.
No, of course, no.
So 6 months, imagine how much is gonna get worse because. In the end, the Thai doctor said to me, "You just need a little prescription, you'll be fine." And then after like 2 weeks, I'm perfectly normal.
Oh, that's great. So what you're saying is, even though you have to pay cash straight up, for you in the case of health, you think that's better. You're just like,
yes,
I'd rather pay and get service right now, than have to wait.
Because like a lot of my family members in the UK, they have cancer, but it's left undetected for too long. It's like you have a swollen gland. They say, oh, you're just sick, this and that. And then few times it get hurts.
So there's
and then they don't do much. And then they decide to ultrasound. Ultrasound is so easy. You just go to hospital, just put ultrasound on you and they found the cancer. A lot of things are left like very untreated. And a lot of people actually struggle with this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure some of our British listeners can relate to what you're saying. I mean, I honestly just don't know much about this. It's like, I've only lived in the States and lived here. So I don't know what it's like to live in Europe where there is a lot of government provided healthcare.
Everyone is complaining.
Oh, really?
And it's my friend just talked about it in Germany. And, I have another experience, which is quite crazy. If you live in Thailand, you hear this story, you will think this is another level of craziness. It's a childbirth in the UK.
Uh-huh.
So, childbirth is very, natural thing and everything. And in the UK, they encourage everything to be as natural as possible.
Sure.
So I have full pain birth. I mean, I don't have any help.
Oh, wow.
No epidural or anything. I just decide to be full natural.
Sure.
But, the moment when my water broke, it's like contraction and all come. You went to the hospital. The husband cannot find a parking. There's no car park. I have to walk down the car with my contraction.
Oh my God.
With no wheelchair at the front of the hospital, no porter, no one there.
Oh my God.
And I have to run to the ward, maternity ward, which is 500 meters from the front of the hospital.
That's a nightmare.
With the water breaking.
Oh, that is a nightmare.
So I have to run in and stop every single contraction to breathe, run to the back of the hospital. The ward is the deepest inside.
Oh my God.
Everyone see me, but they don't give me any assistance. I get there, get the lift, walk into the ward, register myself in, and they were going to send me home. They say, you're not far ahead. And I'm like, no, I'm going to give birth.
Oh my God.
It's my second child experience, right? And then the nurse was like a new student midwife. In the UK, you don't see the doctor. You have a midwife, some kind of nurse specialist. Sure. And they were like, you're not that far. I don't scream or anything. They thought I'm not that far. And then, they don't give me any pain relief or anything because they think I'm not far enough.
Right.
They said, like, do you want paracetamol? That's what they said to me.
And you're like, I'm dying. You're like, I'm dying here.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, in the UK, we have something called gas and air, some kind of gas, to give you to be to be a bit drunk, so you're not too painful.
Right.
They don't give that to me either because they thought I'm not far enough.
Oh, gotcha.
And then I said, like, I feel like I need to push now. Can you call someone more superior than you to look after me?
Right.
That nurse walked in and say, you are on the last stage of labor.
Oh, shit.
And this whole process, I don't get anything.
Oh, my God.
And I bring myself into the bed, giving birth.
Yeah.
And then my husband have to come in with like, what is it? The bag, hospital bag and stuff.
Right, sure.
And then after like few push, my baby came out.
Oh my God.
At first they said for me to go back home and wait at home.
It's crazy.
They don't even check my cervix or anything. So they don't even know how far I am. They just thought I look fine.
Oh, that's crazy.
But the cool thing is that I don't have to pay a pound,
Right. You're right. But still, like,
it's quite traumatizing,
Yeah. I mean, this is a difficult story to hear, but it's, this is exactly the kind of thing, that expats or people have to decide, because a lot of our listeners, they're trying to figure out where to live. Like, and so we have expats who get tired of something in Thailand. You get sick of this, the government, traffic, and then our listeners are thinking, well, maybe I should go back to the UK. So this is good for them to, to hear these kind of stories. Like, so maybe healthcare is just better here. At least, I suppose, if you are, maybe if you're on a pension or maybe you're
health insurance.
Yeah. Like
good health insurance. Yes.
Yeah. Like, I don't even know the answer to this question. If you're in the UK and you just have the money, a lot of money, can you just go to some private hospital immediately and just pay whatever?
No, that's no system like that. So I think, as far as I know, we used to have a private, kind of insurance for a while. You have to go through the general practitioner still to refer you to the private hospital. And a lot of cases, like my friend had the same issue. He's a doctor himself and he used a private health. And at the end, they kick you back to the NHS because they say they don't have anyone who can operate in that kind of thing. Wow. So, in Thailand, we go to private hospital, but the public hospital, you can go and queue up. It might take a long time, but you get to see the doctor on the same day.
It's not going to take 7 days, you're right.
Yes, it's not going to take 6 months to see a neurologist.
Right.
Yeah. So
this is a great. This is part of the reason why I wanted you on the podcast, because when you told me you were deciding to move back here, I was like, oh really? Wow, that's so interesting. So I love it. So basically, it boils down to, you think an education that is basically equal, but better environment, better like fun for your kids, like more healthy, being outdoors, and then you like the healthcare system better.
Yes. I think in the topic of school, I cannot say fully if it's as good. It might be better than public school in the UK, but maybe compared to a private school in the UK that's really top one, it's not as good.
Of course.
But I feel like with my home environment, I can give my kids that critical thinking. You know, I can give him all those activities and he can do so much more here. So we think for now, we are really happy in Thailand and there's no reason that we want to move back to the UK.
That's that's good. That's a good story. I mean, I'm happy here, but I don't have kids. And, you know, as soon as you have kids, as you know,
you might change your perspective though, right?
Everything changes. Like all my friends, like my sisters, as soon as you have kids, it's like it changes kind of everything and how you think. And
yeah. But one thing is that I will never move to Bangkok with kids though. The reason like we live in Chonburi with convenience, it's like developed, you know, it's got everything you need and they got good school down Pattaya side, right?
Right.
So we don't have to go into city with traffic. Right. You know, we drive the kids to school every day with zero traffic and that's amazing.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. But you don't miss some, like for me, I've gotten addicted to just certain things in Bangkok. I feel like I can't live without. So there's nothing down there where you feel like there's nothing in Bangkok you feel like you're missing?
No, not really. It's like, you know, we love to eat good food and there's so many things in Pattaya.
Tons of seafood. You got great seafood down there.
Yeah. I think we have developed a good group of friends. I think that's very important though, right? If you have friends, then you can kind of like mingle. I love to like have friends over at my house and we have mukata together, you know, karaoke and stuff. So I feel like it's a lot more fun.
Well, it's funny. Greg and I have an ongoing debate kind of about Pattaya because, you know, parts of Pattaya, of course, are very seedy. But when I go down there, like I've got friends in Jomtien, and it's great. Like Jomtien is fantastic.
The funny thing is, right, when I was young, I have a very negative connotation to Pattaya. You know, everyone have that negative connotation. But I think after COVID, I went back to Pattaya again, like, wow, this is so cool. You know, just don't look at some area.
That's right. But
the overall, it looked like a Western country. You know, somehow with a good sun, with a sea, that's quite clean.
Well, with I mentioned before the show, I've got a buddy in it's Bangsan.
Bangsan, yes.
Yeah. So I mentioned before I have a buddy in Bangsan, and between like my friend in Jomtien, my buddy in Bangsan, they have a lot of fun. Like they play sports. That whole part of Thailand is very social. Like they're constantly doing stuff. It's just it's fun. That whole area is fun.
There's so many events, right? All the time. And you don't have to pay money. Like, you know, every time in the UK, we always said, okay, let's go to this like Christmas light show. And it's just like a very mediocre show. You'll be paying so much money just to see something that mediocre, right? But in Thailand, they do something crazy. They do everything big, right? The festival, and you go there for free. You know, there's so many
fireworks and pots here.
Yeah, there's so many free stuff going on the whole year, and you can just enjoy it for real.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that part of the country because I was surprised too. I mean, when I first got here 20 years ago, I went down to Pattaya, and I thought of it as this seedy place. You know, that was my first impression.
I totally understand.
Yeah, but then when I went back, you know, about 10 years ago, I started going back because my buddies were talking about this restaurant or, you know, this thing, and so now I like it a lot, especially Jomtien. I like a lot.
It's amazing, yeah. I love it.
Bangsan has a great beach, and it's got that long like walkway.
Yes.
But the Bangsan does not have a lot of Farang food.
It's not really lovely like Pattaya now as well. I feel like Pattaya is really big, and you got a lot of space. And you got a lot of people, and great food, and you got a lot of like, you know, sea sports, those kind of thing. Yeah, it's so lively, and then you can go to Central and look out to the sea. That's really cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you and I we're on Team Pattaya.
Yes. I really don't like Pattaya when I was younger. You know, we always go down Bangsan, you know, being Thai.
Right.
You know, but now me and my husband just love Pattaya. Our kids' school is in Pattaya.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Mookie, let me say this. This was a pleasure, a joy to see you again and reconnect. And then I think I should check back in with you maybe next year and just see, because you haven't been back for that long, right? And I'm curious, you know, your views might evolve.
Yeah, it's been like a year and a half, but there's a lot of cons in Thailand that I don't like though.
Right.
Yeah.
So okay, we don't have that much time left, but what would you say is if you could think of what the single biggest con, the number one thing you don't like?
Can I tell you three? Just like
Three.
briefly.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're ready.
I think
to go.
the
Give me three cons.
first thing is air pollution. It's really bad. In the UK, you can breathe in really fresh air and you feel really refreshed. But here you have PM 2.5 and that's not nice.
So even you're not far from the sea. You're saying you still have bad air down there.
It's still better than Bangkok and a lot of parts.
Okay.
But it will be a lot nicer if it's better quality, because we don't know in long term how it's going to affect our life.
Sure.
Second is, bureaucracy, those kind of,
paperwork.
paperwork. Yes, because I have to deal with my husband's visa. And it's really,
it's a nightmare. Yeah.
It's a nightmare. So let's not talk about that too much.
No, that's number one. That's my number one thing I don't like about Thailand. It's bureaucracy.
It's like the way they work and stuff. Yeah. And third is like the road. The road is very dangerous. The
roads as in motorbikes and that kind of thing.
So people don't have a license driving, and it's so easy to have a car. It's very dangerous because every day we spend time driving. Like in the US, you drive a lot to everywhere to get food.
Sure.
And it's more like you're in a war zone. I'm recently just start driving.
Oh wow.
And like 5 seconds, you got someone coming out.
Oh, I see.
You got the bike coming out. It's really dangerous because we spend a lot of time, driving. Like in the UK, I walk everywhere. So, it's very safe.
Okay. And plus with kids, of course, you got to be worried about road safety and you have to teach them to be careful on the roads and things like that.
It's very dangerous. Yeah. But where we are right now, we don't have car pass by. It's really quiet. So it's really safe. But once you're in a car, you really need a car seat, Oh, for sure. It's very dangerous in Thailand.
I've always wanted to get a motorbike and then maybe a motorcycle, but then
please don't.
Every time I think about it, I just look at the data. I try to be rational. I look at the data, and it's so dangerous.
My husband said we are the top accident in the whole Asian countries and stuff, and he was really paranoid.
Well, it's like
about the traffic.
It's like Greg and I talk about it on the show, how dangerous the roads are, and it's usually in the top 5 in the world.
Yes, it's very dangerous. I don't know how, but people just always go against the traffic.
Sure.
There's always a bike turning opposite to the.
Yeah.
And and if I crash into them, it's so crazy, and you got people don't signal.
Now let's be clear. So in the UK, you're just saying that it's not like that at all.
It's super difficult to get driving license. You spend so many £100 or £1,000 before you can get the license. You need to get a proper lesson. The exam is very difficult. People usually fail in the first few exams.
But the roads are safe.
It's super safe. Like we went back to the UK last month and we were like, oh my God, we don't have to think about looking out for bikes. Or, pedestrians, pedestrians just don't walk randomly. And the car, they drive with the rules. They don't undertake in very crazy manner.
Right.
And you don't have a truck that go in the middle lane or the right lane,
Right.
So everyone know what they are doing, but in Thailand, it's like chaos.
It's chaos. It is chaos. There's no doubt.
Yeah. So that is a very big cons for me, but my husband said we can look past that and, with all the positivity. So we just still like it here.
No matter where you live, there's always going to be pros and cons.
Definitely. Yeah. It's just up to your own judgment and what suits your family. I think that is the most important thing.
Well, I personally am glad you're back. I'll get a chance to see you more. So we got to hook up, either you or you and your
Definitely.
Got to get some babysitters and come to Bangkok.
Definitely. Have some singing party.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yes.
It's a date. It's a date.
Yes.
Okay. Well, anyway, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Maybe we can do it again in a year or two and you'll have some more feedback, hopefully more pros than cons.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Take care.
Okay. Thank you.
Man, that was really interesting. Thanks, Mookie, for coming on and talking about that stuff. I think you're right. I think a lot of people would be really surprised by that because for most Thais, I would imagine, most Thais that I know, moving overseas to a Western country is kind of like the dream, right? You've hit
for a lot.
Hit the jackpot.
It is a little bit tricky. I think there. It's what this reminds me of a couple of things. When I first moved here, and then I was talking to my mom on the phone. My mom was really under the impression that there would be all these Thai women who wanted a white boyfriend and they wanted to escape Thailand, and I never have gotten that vibe. So I don't get the feeling that Thai people in general want to like escape or get out, right?
No, it's not like an escape, but it's like if you have a chance to take a good job.
Right, but of course, yeah. I mean, I think if you're an educated Thai person, especially my program is designed to teach Thais about the West and also how to live and succeed in the West. And like we talked about in the interview, Mookie was one of my best students ever. I'm a huge fan of hers, and she went and got a master's in England. That's where she met her husband, as we talked about. But I do think there is kind of this assumption that if you have the means, if you have the freedom, if you have the education, if you got the money, to be frank, that you're gonna be able to have a better life over there. And that's why I love her take, because like she said, in some ways it was better, but in other ways it's not. And then her and her husband made this choice, and it's it's individual to them. But I think it shows you that Thailand has some real advantages. Like
totally, yeah. It's interesting hearing from her as well on the healthcare thing too, because I come from Canada, the socialist paradise, and I think one of the top things that everyone knows about Canada, besides Yas and Putin, is that free healthcare, government healthcare. But
that's right, sure.
Like with anything, man, you get up close and start looking at it, it's got some serious problems. And
oh man, her story was just incredible. I mean, I'm sure it's not always that bad, but if you have one bad health scare and that someone drops the ball, like, you don't forget that.
Right. My mom did in Panama, and that's why she now goes back to Canada. But when she does go back to Canada, she has to wait for months to see anyone, to even see someone to like figure out what's going on. And I've known a lot of people in Canada, it's free. Yeah, you don't have to pay for it. But, you need an MRI for this like brain tumor. Well, the next appointment's in 6 months.
Jeez, brutal.
So,
brutal.
Yeah.
No, her take on that was interesting. And so I wanted to get your take. She talked a lot about the weather in Thailand and the fact that her sons can kind of run free. She's living down, she's not in Bangkok though. So, but she thinks that a big advantage of Thailand is that it's more outdoor friendly. Now, what's your take on that? Is that only outside of Bangkok?
I would have to disagree with her on that. If you live in Bangkok, I can't send my kid to go running out in the street unless you happen to live right across the street from Lumpini Park or something like that.
Right.
And
she mentioned the bad. She did mention the. There's a lot of reasons why I like Mookie, but she's very good at. I think she's reasonable. Like, I teach my students to be reasonable, but also to have an opinion. And so that's why I think she did a good job of pro-conning it. Because she did mention the bad air quality. So that, they're living outside of Bangkok, and I'm guessing they either have a big yard or she's in a more of a suburban situation. And, I grew up in the suburbs as you did. And I just remember roaming free.
Sure.
It's like we just owned the whole neighborhood and roamed all over the place.
Right.
But of course, in the city, you can't let your kid just be roaming around.
Right. And I also got to say, like, I think even if we were living in some like gated community Muban down somewhere outside of Bangkok that my kid could run free, like my wife still wouldn't want to spend too much time outside. It's too hot. Why would you want to do that? So
interesting.
I think that's also a strike against Thailand. And I go on my bike rides with my buddies and it's great. But when my son and I were back in Canada last year, like everyone was out walking, running, rollerblading, frisbee, beach volleyball all the time. And it's no big deal to walk 3, 4, 5 kilometers to school, to work, to meet your friends or something like that. But
she was in cloudy, rainy, depressing England. Maybe that was the problem. She needs to go to like Vancouver, like with killer weather and talk about
22
outdoor.
degrees. But and of course in the summertime or in the wintertime it's rainy and cold and freezing too. But still, you put on a nice jacket, and when I was living there, I would walk many kilometers to just go and hang out with friends too. So it's not a big deal. Anyway, interesting interview. There's a lot of pros and cons for any situation, but it's not. I think some people might think that moving out of Thailand is like the automatic cha-ching moment for a lot of people, but it's not a magic solution.
Right. Or it is for a while, and then they learn, hey, the West is not some perfect paradise.
Right.
It really depends on your situation. Like if you don't have kids and you want to make money, I don't think you want to be in Thailand. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think it just shows that no matter where you are, you get to know any system really well, you'll start to see the cracks. Like
For sure.
Like we always complain about Thai bureaucracy, but it's not like if I moved back to Canada, I'd be like, finally I can deal with Canadian bureaucracy, which is a paradise. Like it still sucks,
Right. Well, you know what that reminds me of? Since on the bonus show, we talked about Thailand's ranking in the world for democracy. And the country of Switzerland is often ranked very high. I don't know if it's number one, but it's ranked very high. And I was out in Bangkok and I met a girl from Switzerland. And so I brought this up to her, like how high Switzerland ranks on the democracy indexes. And she's like, really? All we do is complain about it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So no matter where you are, there's something to bitch and moan about.
Yeah, totally. Well, thanks, Mookie. That was very interesting take on that. And I hope things go well for her when she's raising her kids in sunny old Thailand.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, let's check in with our new segment called Idiom Proof, where we try to learn a bit more about Thai culture by investigating one of the many funny and creative Thai idioms that we've come across. To help us with the correct pronunciation, we've asked our buddy Bank to read it for us first, and then we'll discuss. Take it away, Bank.
กำขี้ดีกว่ากำตด กำขี้ดีกว่ากำตด
So for those that don't know that phrase, you might have recognized a word or two, but basically, "gamki di kwa gamtot" means a handful of shit is better than a handful of fart. Just fantastic.
I guess a fart is supposed to be nothing because you can't hold on to a fart. Is that the idea?
Right. It's there, but you can't do anything with it. But
I'd rather have shit than a fart. I mean, this is a little bit debatable because, there's often times where I'd rather, let's say, fart than, let's say, shit.
Yeah, I guess so. There are some situations where you definitely want to fart first. But, this is so funny because I find a lot of this in Thai language. Like, you have kita, which is your eye gunk. You have kimuk, which is mucus out of your nose. You have kifan, which is plaque on your teeth. So ki comes up a lot in Thai language, but I think this is a particularly descriptive one.
Man, no, Thai idiom is so creative. I love this segment. We got to do it more.
That's right. So if someone says to me, hey, do you want, I can't afford to give you 500 baht. Do you want 100 baht? I'll say, gamki di kwa gamtot. So
I wonder if you tried to use this in English, if it would make sense. Like, what if you were just speaking English with someone and just said, hey, it's better to have a handful of shit than a handful of farts?
I'd love to see the looks from people. It's like the record scratch. People sort of look at you.
It's like it's like you're trying to get the idiom started in another language.
Yeah, that's right. Like, no, not going to catch on. All right, never mind. Off we go. That's funny.
All righty. Thank you, Bank. A final thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a ton of cool perks and the warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that they're helping in our never-ending quest for cool content. Find out more by clicking support on our website. And connect with us online. We're Bangkok Podcast on social media, bangkokpodcast.com on the web, or simply bangkokpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners and always reply to our messages.
That's right. You can also listen to each episode on YouTube. You can send us a voicemail through our website that will feature on the show. Hit me up on Threads, y'all, at BKKGreg. Thank you for listening, everyone. Take it easy out there. I'll see you back here next week.
No doubt.